I actually had to go to John Lewis in Oxford Street with my survey in a paper clip, and
Nice.
I had to tap the shoulders of the moms shopping in the nursery section, asking, "Do you have 5 minutes to fill out the form for me?" Yeah, and it was the most nerve-wracking thing for me.
From Swoop, it's Take the Plunge, a podcast about how business owners decided to stop what they were doing and took the plunge to start their own business. We take a look at how they came to that decision and what were those first crucial steps in getting their businesses up and running. My name's Kieran, and I'll be your host for this episode. Today, I'm very excited to be joined by our next guest, Vaughn Tsai, as not only is he an all-round great guy, but he's also a brilliant founder too. He's built up some amazing experiences since launching his business, Nimble Babies, back in 2014. So after 10 years of working as a chemist in one of the world's largest consumer product companies, he decided to take the plunge and start his own child-friendly cleaning products powered by plant-based cleaning products. Since launching his business, Vaughn has seen his products hit the shelves of Ocado, Boots, Sainsbury's, and Tesco, and also has made a cameo in Dragon's Den along the way. You're very welcome, Vaughn. How are you doing today?
I'm very good, thank you, Kieran, for having me. Yeah, it's an honor.
Brilliant. Well, can we bring you back to the very beginning, I suppose, Vaughn? Can you kind of tell me what you were doing before starting up Nimble Babies and what brought you to that point in terms of setting up the business?
Sure. Yeah. So I'm originally from the Philippines. Moved over here to the UK back in 2006. Yeah. And then I ended up working at Unilever for an additional 7 years. So I used to work for them in the Philippines for 3 years. So yeah, I worked in Unilever in the UK as an R&D manager, developing new products for them in product categories like detergents and deodorants.
Hmm.
And then yeah, in 2013 I got married. The same time I also decided to leave Unilever and basically take the plunge because
Yeah.
at that time I was thinking, oh gosh, you know, I'm not getting any younger. I've had the itch already to like start up my own business for a while. And it was, yeah, you know, I've just been putting it off for many years. You know, didn't quite have the courage to do it. But then, yeah, after getting married, I thought, okay, maybe I should just do it. And yeah, I'm just very thankful that my wife was very supportive of the whole idea. So yeah, for I would say, yeah, the first 2 3 years, yeah, I was kind of like just benefiting from my wife's hard work, yeah, while I set up the business.
And how did you settle on baby products? Because at the time you didn't have any children. Why go there?
Yeah. So at that time when I was kind of like thinking about, you know, what business to go into, yeah, I was having a chat with my sister who has who at that time just gave birth to my first ever niece. And yeah, you know, during that chat, yeah, my sister was telling me, oh, Vaughn, you know, how do you get rid of this milk residues and odors from milk bottles? You know, I'm finding it very hard to get rid of. You know, it's either she was using a lot of washing up liquid to get rid of the
Hmm.
smell, or you know, she would end up having like milk bottles smelling of spoiled milk. Yeah, so she was kind of like caught between, you know, you know, like, you know, it's either smelling of washing up liquid or smelling like a washing up liquid. So I thought, okay, that seems like an interesting problem. Are you sure you're washing the bottles properly? Yeah, so my sister said yes, definitely. So since hearing that problem, you know, I kind of like took it on and, you know, did a bit of research and, you know, just tried to validate if this is just my sister having a problem, or, you know, is
Yeah.
it a common problem amongst parents. Yeah, so, you know, based on my research, I found out that actually, yeah, it's a common problem amongst parents, and I thought, okay, maybe I can use my chemistry skills and experience in coming up with new products to solve this issue. So yeah, so that kind of like led, you know, brought me from one thing to another. But yeah, basically that was the birth of our first product, which is Milk Buster, the baby bottle cleaner, and that's how I ended up being in the baby space.
And in terms of kind of you get to obviously you identified the problem and you've started to build out the product Milk Buster. But how do you, I suppose, engage more customers outside of your own sister? Like what were you doing to get that initial traction, so to speak?
Yeah, so that was very hard for me, because yeah, as I've mentioned in the intro, I'm not originally from the Philippines. And then yeah, the first 7 years of my stay in the UK was based in Liverpool and in Leeds. So I was, based in the north, and after getting married, I actually moved down to London, because my wife was her job was in London. So yeah, I moved down to London. So I didn't
Hmm.
really know a lot of people in London. Yeah, so the Northerners are very different from Londoners. Yeah, it was very tough. Yeah, one of the things I've learned in my 10 years at Unilever is to always make sure that your products are answering a consumer need and be able to communicate it in a language that consumers actually use. Yeah, because
Hmm.
there's a big risk that when you're developing products for a big company, you kind of like just get lost in the data. Yeah, and
Hmm.
you start speaking of words that a normal consumer wouldn't really use. Yeah,
Yeah.
so for example, milk residues. Yeah, for me it's milk fat and proteins. Yeah, and a regular customer wouldn't really use. For them it's residue. Yeah,
Yeah.
so yeah, it's really identifying the right words here and there. And how I kind of like came to these kinds of words really required me to go out and speak to moms. So
Yep.
yeah, one story I wanted to share is, yeah, I actually had to go to John Lewis in Oxford Street with my survey in a paper clip, and
Nice.
I had to tap the shoulders of the moms shopping in the nursery section, asking, "Do you have 5 minutes to fill out the form for me?" Yeah, and it was the most nerve-wracking thing for me, because yeah, it's quite
I,
random. It's a guy uh, who's not
I
really
did.
from the UK, and yeah, it just yeah felt random. But thankfully the moms were very helpful. Yeah.
And were John Lewis cool with it as well?
I think they were probably the security guys were like wondering, "Oh, what's this guy doing here, just hovering around the nursery section for 2 hours." So yeah, I wasn't caught. So yeah,
Oh,
so
that's
that
brilliant.
worked well.
And I suppose after so you've kind of gathered that kind of feedback in John Lewis in Oxford Street. Um, how how did you then start selling it? Where did you go to start selling your first product? What did that look like?
Yeah, so I launched the first time I launched it was back in September 2015. Believe it or not, my first customer was actually my barber.
No way.
Yeah.
Always be selling.
Uh, yeah, so it was funny because yeah, so we at that time we also just moved to a different place. So it was a new barber that I was having my hair cut in, and then the guy just asked me, "Oh, what do you do?" And I said, "Oh, I'm just about to launch this product that cleans baby bottles." And then he said, "Oh, actually, I have a 4 month old, yeah, yeah, drinking from baby bottles." So and then he said, "Oh, I would like to buy your product." So yeah, so he was my first customer. Yeah, he bought two bottles for
Oh,
yeah for
brilliant.
yeah for £5 each. So that was good.
Bit
um,
bit of margin.
exactly. And then yeah, after that, yeah, it was really bringing the products to people. Yeah, knocking on people's doors, emailing lots, getting rejected a lot. But yeah, my first ever retail customer was a company called Kiddie Care,
Hmm.
which was quite big. I think yeah, 5 years ago. Yeah, I think it's now gone, Kiddie Care. But yeah, they were my first customers, and it was through various like channels really. And as an entrepreneur, you just knock on every door that you can, and see whoever opens the door. Yeah, there's always one who will open the door, and that's
Hmm.
already enough.
And yeah, I suppose how have you found that element of selling into retail? Because I know many kind of consumer-based products can find it first challenging to get that door open, or say when you're engaging with maybe an Ocado or Sainsbury's, you may open the door, but you may be only be on for a limited time. How have you managed to, I suppose, open the door, get on the shelf, and then stay on the shelf?
That's a very good point, Kieran, because opening the door is a very difficult thing. But yeah, staying in is, believe it or not, even harder. In terms of like opening the door, yeah, it's really about contacting the right people who will
Hmm.
be selling your product. So retailers have what they call buyers. A buyer is assigned to look after a certain category. Yeah, so you can basically just look them up on LinkedIn and various sources. Yeah, just look for, who is the buyer for your
Hmm.
category. So in my case, I was specifically looking for the baby accessories buyer. So yeah, so once you have that, yeah, it's a matter of really pitching to them the commercial opportunity, because the buyers are commercially driven. So great if you have a great marketing consumer story that is really a plus. But then, to seal the deal really is to come up with a good commercial case for them to really see the opportunity, because there's a lot of work involved in setting up a new supplier. Yeah, so
Yep.
they need to see that there's a return for them financially to be able to spend that much effort to sign you up. So yeah, after you pitch both the the marketing opportunity and the commercial opportunity, hopefully if you've done it well, it would be a no-brainer for them to say yes to what you're offering to them. And then yeah, hopefully the response is a yes, and it's good. And once you're in, the challenge really, as Kieran said, is about staying in. And in
Yeah.
terms of staying in, the key metric that you need to look after is what they call the rate of sale.
Yep.
So yeah, how many units of your product are you selling per week per store? Yeah,
Yeah.
that's usually the main KPI for the buyer. So if you are not hitting the right rate of sale for them, then you might be up for getting axed in
Yeah.
6 or 12 months time. Yeah,
And
so you need to do anything within your power to get that rate of sale.
well, I remember my dad, they used to sell this Sudocrem. It's like a baby product, and as kids, whenever we would go into any supermarket without fail, he would always go to that aisle and make sure they were presented beautifully, and would turn them around and make sure they think. Do you ever go and look at supermarkets and check how it's all presented?
Definitely, yeah. So this is, yeah, quite embarrassing. Yeah. So every time I go to supermarkets, I really go to to our aisle, yeah, and again looking a bit shady, trying to fix our products. Sometimes I also give more space for my products,
Yeah.
yeah, than intended. Yeah, you just need to do whatever you can within your powers to but
Yeah.
obviously do it properly, not breaking any rules or law.
Exactly. Yeah, all about the fine margins. And then I suppose, particularly with the last year, whilst obviously the big retailers like Boots and Sainsbury's have remained open, a lot of people's habits have shifted to buying more and more online. How have you found moving Nimble products online? Has it been tough? What are the challenges you've faced there, and kind of how has that whole experience been for you?
It was yeah, complete to be completely honest, it was really stressful last year, especially same time last year when the lockdown was just first introduced. All of a sudden we had a spike in our e-commerce sales, and we were not
Hmm.
ready for it. Yeah, we were not ready at all. Yeah, so at any given time during the 3 month period,
Hmm.
from April to June, yeah, we were behind in orders, yeah, online. So at some point the highest backlog we had was 500 orders.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was like a ticking time bomb. Like every day, you have to manage the customers very well. Yeah, obviously you have to manage internally that you need to start building stocks.
Hmm.
But yeah, the biggest stress point for me was the customers, because I didn't want to let them down. Yeah, they were buying our products because they felt that our products can help them make their houses cleaner and and free from bacteria and things like that. So I felt that responsibility of being able to shift the products to them because they really needed them.
Mm.
So yeah, and to make that happen, it was a weekly email communication with all the customers.
Wow.
updating them, yeah, and just being completely transparent with them what is
Yes.
going on. We do have your orders. Yeah, but please be patient with us.
Yeah.
We're working on it. We're only a team of three. We're
Yeah.
doing our best to make things happen. So yeah,
Yeah.
and most of the customers were really really kind. Yeah, I would probably say there were only maybe 2-3% of the customers who came back,
Yes.
angry. Yeah, but
Yes.
98% of the customers were just like really understanding. So yeah, it was really about being transparent to them
Hmm.
and just
Hmm.
giving them an idea on when things are coming.
I suppose just touching into the team aspect there, because obviously you launched this as very personal to you. You want to see it succeed, but you're now kind of 7 years into it. You're now starting to bring a team in underneath you to work together to build out Nimble. How have you found it bringing on new people, and what are the types of roles and skills you've needed along the way?
The hiring process, yeah, I think it's a new skill for me to learn. When I was at Unilever, the roles are quite well defined. Yeah, so if I needed someone to help me, then I'll look for an assistant manager to help me run several projects. And then a lot of the roles are already defined. So the challenging part in starting up your own business is, yeah, defining which roles are the roles that you actually want to outsource to other people.
Hmm.
Yeah. And it requires a lot of like honesty and proper reflection on what are the things that you really enjoy doing as a founder, and are those things that you enjoy doing value adding. Yeah. Because if they're not value adding, then yeah, you need to kind of like rethink it, and you might
Yeah.
want to actually just outsource it to someone. So yeah, so for me, it was very obvious that because we're a products business, so we do have a lot of supply chain to manage. Yeah,
Hmm.
and I found myself spending like 90% of my time just contacting suppliers, making sure deliveries are coming on time, etc. And I felt like doing that was not value adding to the business in the long run. Even though
Hmm.
I enjoy it, I enjoy the buzz of finally getting all the materials in and talking to people. Yeah, I really enjoy that. But eventually, I realized that that isn't what will create the most value for the business. So my first hire was an operations manager, who
Hmm.
could just basically do all the legwork in terms of like getting materials in, sorting out deliveries, etc. And then after the operations manager, yeah, I've hired a marketing manager because I
Yeah.
felt like, okay, and the next thing is, now we have everything sorted from the product side. Yeah, how
Hmm.
do we then market these things even better? Yeah, because before
Yeah.
that it was me who was doing all the marketing, and I'm not really good at social media. So
Yeah.
so yeah, so I hired, yeah, a marketing manager who could help us. Yeah, now I've also hired a sales team, an e-com agency, yeah, a finance team. So yeah, we now have about 15 people working in the business, either
Amazing.
in-house or outsourced.
You're probably learning along the way as you bring some of these new skills and teams in. How have you found kind of, obviously we've talked about adapting to a lot of online sales, but seeing, I suppose, maybe the power of paid marketing and what it can generate, is that been a kind of an interesting kind of learning curve for you?
Yeah, no, definitely. And actually, as a response to this new big growth in e-commerce, yeah, I've actually just hired someone to help us with e-commerce. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, he's an ex-Amazon guy, so yeah, I can now see that things are getting dialed up. Yeah, because yeah, we now have someone who knows e-commerce at least more than I do. So
Yeah.
that's good. Yeah, and yeah, my my knowledge of e-commerce is really basic. So yeah, so it's been really good to have someone who has the right experience for it.
And I suppose just turning inward for a second in terms of the management of the business, like cash flow, forecasting, growing the business, that side of things. How have you found that as starting out as a single person entrepreneur in 2014 to raising finance, growing the team, keeping the lights on? Has it been stressful? What's worked? What's been difficult?
Yeah, this is really, yeah. Oh, yeah. You know my story, Kieran. But yeah, this is, yeah, this is, yeah, I think as a founder, it's one of the most stressful things that
Yeah.
you would be doing. It's about raising money. Yeah, so I was quite fortunate that, in the first 2 years of the business, my wife was properly supporting me in the business. So yeah, we were basically using our savings to fund the business. Yeah, that was really good. So for the first 2 years, I kind of like had that cushion. But then eventually I realized that, I can't just carry on spending my own savings. We'll end up, living in the streets if I if I carry on doing this. So yeah, eventually I just went out again and just started, looking for people who could help me raise money. Yeah,
Yeah.
I thought I knew how to raise money just by watching Dragons Den, but
Well, you ended up on Dragon's Den.
yeah, exactly. But yeah, I couldn't be more wrong. Yeah, I couldn't be more wrong. So yeah, I didn't know what pre-money valuation meant. I didn't even know, what was pre-money, what are term sheets, what are, subscription agreements, shareholder agreements. Yeah, I didn't know the basics. So yeah, I was very fortunate to, through all the networking that I've done, I was able to meet a lady who really gave me all the basics, taught me the basics, and taught me, Vaughn, yeah, all you need to do is to prepare these three documents, yeah, A, B, and C. Yeah, once you have these, then you're ready to go out and pitch. Yeah, and pitch, I did. Like, I pitched like every week, met a lot of investors who I thought will invest, but yeah, it took me 12 months to
Yeah.
basically get my first investment, because yeah, you just make mistakes, but as you make mistakes, you learn, you refine your pitch, etc. And then eventually, yeah, I was very lucky to meet Andrea in one
Yeah.
of these events, and she was the one who also taught me, okay, why don't you do this? And yeah, and actually, it was after my meeting with Andrea that I got my first investment. Yeah, it was
Amazing.
through your introductions.
It is a gruesome, awful experience, but worth it sometimes when you get out the other side and see where you are now.
Yeah, but then yeah, I think after the first one, it gets a bit easier. Yeah,
Yeah.
just because you already have the experience, you know what the investors look for, you're more prepared, and then you already have a pool of investors who can back you up, and they would also know other people. So
Hmm.
it is becoming, it's become easier. But then maybe I think as you carry on raising money, yeah, maybe there will be another, difficult period depending on the ticket size.
Well, you're going in the right direction anyway. One other aspect I'm kind of keen to ask you about, because you're obviously talking about constantly managing the business, raising money, but also bringing on new people, selling the product. But there's also an element of product development a lot of the time in what you do, in terms of you're continually adding to your range and bringing new products out. How do you manage to fit that side of the business in, and how important is it to keep on innovating?
Yeah, so it is really important. Yeah, so NPD, I think I knew this in my head back when I was at Unilever, that new products is kind of like the life, like the lifeblood of consumer product businesses. Yeah, I knew it in my head, but then when I started my own, kind of like went into the back burner, to be honest, because yeah, it requires a lot of resource and money. Prior to launching new products last year, my so last year was 2020. Yeah, before 2020, my last new product launches were in 2018. So yeah, so it was quite long
Mm.
for a consumer products business to launch new products in, in 2 years plus. And when I saw the impact of the new products in our revenue last year, that's when I realized, oh yeah, I really need to change my attitude towards new product development. Now, from a practical point of view, what we do as a team is we meet every Thursday. We have a time slot, an hour time slot on Thursday mornings to go through new product development work. Yeah,
Hmm.
so I project manage every single NPD that we're doing. It boils down to that basics of, just allocating time to something that is important. Yeah,
Hmm.
so even if it's just 1 hour a week, yeah, it really makes a difference because my team knows that it's being monitored
Yeah.
on a weekly basis. So then things are getting done outside of the meetings to push things along. Yeah, so I've used that process last year, and that's how we ended up being able to launch in September, with just 6 months preparation to launch 3 new products, and then this June we're launching 2 new products again. Yeah, and then in Q4 we're launching another two. So yeah, and that's what we've just been doing. Using that 1 hour time slot each week to.
It sounds like it's been productive.
Mm.
I suppose looking back in a way, what are, I suppose, some of the highlights then over the last 7 years? 'Cause we've touched on all the different aspects of the business, but what are the moments that kind of stick out for you?
Oh, okay. Maybe my top three would be, yeah, so getting a patent, yeah, was definitely a highlight for us. Yeah, because I've worked at Unilever for 10 years, never had the chance to get the patent at all. And then it was only, through my own invention, that, I was able to get a patent granted here in the UK and in
Right.
Europe, and we have a patent pending in China and in the US. So yeah, so that's definitely one highlight. And then secondly, getting into Sainsbury's was
Yeah,
a massive highlight for us. So yeah, we got in January 2020, just before the pandemic.
good timing.
Yeah, very good timing indeed. So yeah, I was like, this is a dream come true, because actually, another story. Yeah, when I was just setting up the business, there was a big Sainsbury's near our home. So I used to go to Sainsbury's, to that shop, and bring my own prototypes and mock it up on their shelves. Yeah, and take
Amazing.
pictures, just yeah, just to see
And
how it
again,
looks on the shelf.
s- security delighted with it.
Yeah, well, I was never noticed, let's put it that way. So yeah, so yeah, yeah, and to get that listing with Sainsbury's last year in 375 stores, I was like, oh wow, this was just a dream like 5 years ago, and then now it's really happening. It was a lot of hard work to get in. Yeah, so yeah, that's definitely one big highlight. And then for me, I think from a personal perspective, as a person and maybe as a founder, going into Dragon's Den was a huge thing for me. I would say this is more like a hindsight kind of thing,
Hmm.
rather than when I was in the thick of things. Because it was after Dragon's Den that I just really had a lot of confidence about the business and about me pitching to people that I don't know. Because I thought, okay, if I could get 3 dragons to say yes to Nimble, and
Yeah.
and offer to invest in Nimble, then I think I can probably get a lot of people back me up. It was such a huge confidence boost for me, and I felt like I've grown as an individual and as a founder after that.
Well, I can't think of any better way to finish it off just there, Vaughn. There's no doubt that you're an unbelievable founder and so hardworking and humble as well. So it's just an absolute pleasure to get you on here and chat. And I just couldn't wish it any more luck with Nimble, and hope every shelf possible in the United Kingdom has some of your products on it over the next couple of years. But thanks again for coming on, Vaughn.
Thank you, Kieran. Yeah, my pleasure. Yeah, and thank you for this invitation.